Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Jennifer Meyer. You have found Consider Jennifer Raw. And this is the place where I talk about some of my work in a little bit more of a personal, unscripted kind of way. So I'm glad to have you join me. It has been a really busy May. So this video is getting to everybody a little later than I had anticipated or I wanted, but such is life. And my month really started reading an article from Ryan Vett as Mother's Day approached. I'll link to that article in the description for this video, so please go check it out because it was a brilliant article. And among all of the other things that Ryan brought up in this article, he was kind of talking about the isolation that exists with motherhood and how we are all disconnected, and this idea that we have lost the village when it comes to raising a child. And certainly that has been my experience. I know when I was reading the article, I immediately reflected to the amount of isolation that I felt as I was raising a special needs child, particularly while I was doing that being a single parent, which was for quite a while. But the other thing that I got out of this article from Ryan was our ability to make that different. In my frameworks, when I talk about self-leadership, when I talk about personal responsibility and accountability, I really focus the the direction of my work on what action can you do? What's yours to own? What isn't yours to own? And how do you actually start doing it? And there are two things that jumped out at me in the article as I was reading it from Ryan. First was discipline. Discipline is, I believe, the highest form of self-love because it's what allows you to hold yourself accountable to the standards that you want for your own life. If you say that something is important to you, discipline is what helps you do the thing that's important to you consistently. And without discipline, it becomes really easy to miss the mark on the things that we say matter. The other thing that came up for me is this idea of empathy. Empathy is so important to me. It is absolutely critical to me. And empathy needs to be given to yourself as well as other people. And so, what that means in the way that I talk about it is empathy is acknowledging the reality of how you feel and then asking yourself what you're going to do about it. And in the case of the article that Ryan was writing, I was reflecting on my experience as a single parent of a child with special needs. And I felt isolated. I felt alone. I felt disconnected. I felt that I had no one who understood, who could hold space for me. I felt bad. I felt bad. Empathy is okay, this is how I feel. And then the next question is, what am I going to do about it? And discipline is part of what you do with it. I think what we forget is that we have the opportunity to respond to our feelings in a way that helps us make those feelings different. Now, I can't change the fact that my son has autism. And I can't change the fact that some people are not going to understand what that looks like. But what I can change is that engagement that I have throughout my day in those tiny micro moments when I have an opportunity to create connection with another human being. It might be having a brief conversation with the checkout person and really being invested in the conversation with them, showing some vulnerability, having a real moment of humanness. It doesn't have to be my forever best friend, but that tiny little connection eased some of the isolation that I felt. And I realized as I got more disciplined, and what I mean by that is forcing myself to do the thing even when I didn't feel like it because I said connection mattered to me. Slowly, connection became easier. I was able to find people who did understand. I was able to express to people who might not be living the same life that I was living, but create moments of understanding that allowed for relationship to evolve and develop. Those things only happened because I was willing to stop blaming the rest of the world for not understanding what it was that I was going through, and instead made myself available to be real in front of people. And I didn't always feel like it. I was tired, I was exhausted, I was depressed, I had anxiety, lots of anxiety. My brain was a mess. But discipline, combined with the fact that I was asking myself, what are you going to do with this problem, forced me to be accountable to the fact that connection mattered to me. And when you look at yourself in the mirror and the things that matter to you that kind of way, you can't help but make some sort of small incremental change. And change happens through small incremental steps. Very rarely is there a huge sweeping come to Jesus moment that just erases everything, every behavior that you've ever had in the past, and you immediately start doing different. Different occurs through small incremental change done on purpose, almost all of the time. So as you move through your day, if you find yourself getting to the end of your day and you're super tired and you don't want to do anything, and you kind of just feel like you want to zone out, I would encourage you to do some self-reflection. That's not necessarily a great way to end your day. It might indicate that you are disconnected, and it could be a symptom of a larger problem. And if it is, it's important that you acknowledge your feelings, give yourself a big old self hug. I understand why I feel this way, it makes sense. And then ask yourself, what am I going to do about it? Because sitting in gross feelings because you feel like everybody in the world doesn't get you is a you problem. It's not a world problem. It is. And nobody wants to say those things. But you are robbing yourself of the opportunity of making it better when you make it somebody else's responsibility to change when you could be the one changing. And that change that you make within yourself is ultimately what moves the needle on how connected or disconnected you feel throughout your day. And it can happen in small ways. It can start with having a conversation with somebody on the elevator. It can start with having a brief chat with the person at the grocery store checking out scanning your groceries. It doesn't have to be deep, intimate relationship all at once. It happens in those micro moments, and you are responsible, at least in part, with being open and available for allowing that to happen. Please don't forget that. It's it's the one thing that you have control over, and not owning it and being accountable to it is keeping you from the one thing that you actually want to experience. Being a parent is very isolating. Society has eroded in our ability to create community, to create connection. We have to work harder to make that happen. It's no longer designed to happen by default. We have to engineer it, and that requires your full participation. And if you can do that and commit to it and be consistent with it, then you're going to find that connection actually becomes a lot easier than you think. But you have to be real, and you have to be honest with yourself about your role in what it is that's going on. So that's it for today. I hope that that was inspiring. I would really love to know what it is that you find the hardest when it comes to connecting with other people or creating spaces for you to connect with others. Where do you do it? Where do you wish it was happening? What do you think is missing in your life? And then ask yourself, how can I make this different? What do I do next? Drop a comment below, like, comment, and share. Thank you guys so much. Be sure to check me out on LinkedIn or other social platforms at Consider Jennifer. And until next time, consider your life, be on purpose. Bye.